This is the third lecture of our FA M21 lecture series this semester. And, so far it's been interesting, and we look forward to your talk, Martin. And welcome and thank you for agreeing to talk to us. Nilosha will now introduce you.
Good evening, everyone, and good morning to Martin. Martin is an architect from Colombia and is currently coordinator of urban projects at ProBogota. He was advisor at the Planning Department of Bogotá. Completed his studies in architecture in Switzerland with a master's degree from Accademia, the Architettura of Mendrisio. Martin has professional and academic experience from Colombia, India, USA, and Switzerland. He was director of the Department of Architecture at the Javeriana University of Bogotá and was visiting professor at RISD. He is the co-founder and project coordinator of AGRA, Anzellini Garcia-Reyes Arquitectos, an awarded architectural and social development firm, which focuses on housing, commercial and educational projects, as well as urbanism and territorial development. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anjali, for this invitation. Thank you, Nilosha, for the presentation. I am very happy to be here. Hello, good afternoon, good morning in Colombia to everyone. Hello, Harshil, how are you? Again, thank you very much. I am very happy to share this lecture. I must say that probably it is the lecture that I worked more on conceptualizing something that is interesting here and there and everywhere. Trying to show, as Anjali asked me, my work in the most generous way. Trying to be as concrete as possible. It will be a lecture of more or less 1 hour, on which I will, as I said, some of the developed project that I have done along my career, and also to bring some reflections about probably my main research, professional and academic research theme, which is vernacular architecture and the values of vernacular. So I will share my screen. Please interrupt me if something is not working with the connection, and also if you have any question, please interrupt me. Maybe we can generate a dynamic space during this moment. I will, as I said, present for more or less 1 hour, so then we have space to discuss a little bit. Okay. So the lecture is titled "On the Research of Vernacular Values." I will talk about how these vernacular values are somehow influencing my projects and my professional career. I decided to start with this beautiful, or let's say with this picture of this beautiful piece of roof of the Tanah Toraja houses of the island of Sulawesi in Indonesia, that shows how vernacular architecture is shaped by time, is shaped by craftsmanship, is shaped by nature, of course, and how it's tremendously pure, sophisticated, complex, and simple at the same time, producing this kind of beautiful objects that are directly related to the technique, that are directly related, of course, with the culture, the functionality, and of course the desire of shaping the environment with beauty, generating these tremendously complex pieces of craftsmanship, on how people is weaving the world, using materials, available materials in the territory to build their habitat and to generate most beautiful pieces of it. No? as you see here, tremendously sophisticated. Also, as you see here, with the weavings of the Iraca palms, of the Amazon basin, roofs in Colombia, Peru, Brazil, that with two materials, even one material from the one single palm, such a complex network of shapes of weavings are produced, and how on the top left image, this territory is built in such a magical and sophisticated way. It is also simple. In Spanish, as I said to the students, we have two words for simplicity. We have sencillo and simple. Simple means, let's say, banal and basic. Sencillo means sophisticated, minimalistic, pure. And this is sencillo, no? This is how we just have to generate a solution to cross the Meuse to the other side of this stream, of this little river. So we generate what it needs to be done, which is a very available materials. It is urban and old as this network of buildings in Amsterdam, also as this lost city in the mountains of Colombia, which have 13, 14, 15 meters high roofs of stone, walls of stone, contention walls without mortar, and that was inhabited by 10,000 inhabitants in very isolated areas in the mountains of Colombia 1,000 and more years ago. It is also this, no? It is how people is building the slums of these developing countries, developing world cities such as Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Delhi, Bogotá, Mexico City, Rio de Janeiro, on which topography, human negotiations, human relations by families, communities are shaping the world, basically, the cities, with tremendously complex problems, for example, with the seismic resistance and the accessibility and the availability of public space, but also with tremendously interesting and complex qualities. No? It is also, let's say, suburban or compact rural settlements such as Old Burna in Luxor in Egypt. Again, the villages, contemporary villages of the Sierra Nevada in northern Colombia. It is resilient, as these people here in a very spontaneous way are just dismantling a house in the Pacific coast of Colombia because of climate change, because the level of the water changed with the season and produced by climate change. So they are dismantling in a resilient, of course, very hard, but resilient and simple way their houses and bringing them 20, 50, 100 meters inland to rebuild, to build it back again. It is territorial, huge, as these topographic weavings of the Sinú region in northern Colombia, on which people during centuries were shaping to deal with the floods and with the cycles of rain, to cultivate and then to fish in the rainy season. Again, it's detailed, simple. It has, as the first image, this view of time and the idea of how many feet were walking up these stairs and were touching this wall when they were going up this stone wall again in the mountains of Colombia. It is everywhere. This is, for example, just a an exercise. This is a beautiful map that Kushi, our teaching assistant, produced for the new vernacular architecture studio, showing the architectures that we are studying on the studio. We are studying more than 100 different cultures, architectures in the world, and we are getting inspired to produce contemporary projects based on these drawings that we are. These are the drawings of the students of the studio, and these are the things that we are that are like being extracted somehow to learn from vernacular, from the carved architecture of Cappadocia, the joineries of the architecture in Madagascar, the cluster buildings in Yemen, and so on. It is technical, no? As you see here, this is Ahmedabad. This picture was taken by me in 2010 in Ahmedabad. This is a social housing project that could be everywhere, and we see how concrete replaced other materials and everywhere, and how this let's say this livelihood, this habitat have certain characteristics that we know that could increase in a positive way, could get better. It is also typological. These are the vertical favelas in Sao Paulo, where old modernistic office buildings were invaded by people, and they don't have any sewage system. They don't have any water, running water or electricity, but they still live there. This very delicate, functional village, small city of Neuchâtel in Switzerland. It is also environmental. These are the floods in exactly the same regions where the Sinu territories learned many years ago how to deal with water and with rains, with the rainy seasons. So I am sharing some projects. I'm sharing some architectural projects based on this. I am sorry with the students of the new vernacular architecture studio that have seen this slide more or less 100 times, or Herschel 200. But basically these are somehow the values that I, since many years ago, since when I was a student, these values somehow are the values that I consider that we should, with other more, let's say, secondary, extract. We should learn from vernacular architecture. So I try to bring examples, very eclectic, of my projects, of how these values were implemented in the projects. Of course, you will see, and this is very important, you will see that one or another value could be implemented in all the projects. Some projects are more, let's say, more vernacular, and some other are more industrial, modernistic. But all of them somehow have these elements that I considered could start like helping us to get out of this crisis of postmodernity that I think we still are. And when I mean to crisis, I mean a crisis of climate change, a crisis of social exclusion, and so on. Let's start with, this is very important. These projects, any of these projects was made by myself. I was somehow working together, co-directing different groups of people. The group of AGRA, which is our small practice family office in Bogotá. The group of students from Javeriana University, and professors, of course, with who we were doing some like learning by doing projects. The group of the Secretary of Planning of Bogotá, the group of RISD and Javeriana also, that we were working together, the group of Disney Animation that was it is about to launch a movie that we were collaborating with. Of course, the group of the new vernacular architecture studio, that we are meeting virtually. We are soon, hopefully, meeting presentially. The group of the Laya Foundation in Verandangal and the group of the Secretary of Planning of Bogotá and many other teams, groups. And I think, as you will see now, architecture is not just a linear exercise. At least in my case, it is more a organic exercise on which, as an architect, at least in Colombia, it is hard to have one project than the other. To survive as an architect, you have to be, let's say, a little bit as a chameleon on which you have to do many things at the same time, and you have to, of course, work hard. To express the progressive development, I want to share you this project. It is a prototype of a housing module that we produced for the Solar Decathlon, which is a competition of zero emissions houses that by the American Energy Department. There was this competition in Cali, in Colombia, and our concept basically was to produce a grid, to produce a big infrastructure that was providing what normally is missing in informal settlements, such as seismic resistance, so a main structure, services, so good ducts and pipes and so on, and accessibility, so the possibility to everyone to get to every corner of this, let's say, main infrastructure of living, and to bring also to this infrastructure the good things of vernacular architecture, which is spontaneity. So how people from this main structure could inhabitate the space as they want. So if they have a space for hairdressing, if they have a space for a shop, if they have a big family and they want to occupy the whole volume. So we were like providing people square, cubic meters that could be occupied as they want. Of course, this was a more conceptual exercise of this good results in terms of prices and so on, but this is not important. What is important, probably the most important thing about this house is that the competition was, they were measuring everything. If you see here, the house had lots of sensors. They were measuring the water consumption. They were measuring everything. And the house was very, very successful in dealing with climate. We were in 40 degrees climate. It is a humid, warm climate, of a tropical warm climate. And the house, compared to others that were very close, very, let's say, European style houses, was performing very good. We got between 15 houses, we got the third prize in energy consumption and thermic performance. So this is just to prove that the passive systems of traditional open Colombian tropical architecture could be a very useful, convenient solution for building an habitat. We don't have to recreate the models of other areas of the world. We can learn from each other with this very cheap, simple bamboo enclosure. It was a modular house, a main structure that was like recreating this infrastructure of steel that was filled in with these more, let's say, vegetable elements of wood and bamboo. The house was open all the day. It was interesting because it was not just a prototype, it was a house. Some of our students during the competition were sleeping there. They were spending their nights so they don't have to pay the hotel. And we had a very good time. We did parties on it and it was very nice. This is another very recent project that I have finished. It is a consultancy that we are developing for an NGO and for the British cooperation to bring sustainable local environmental tourism in a very isolated region that was very affected by war in northern Colombia too. and we generate this modularity with this modular project. Remember that we are on this progressive development chapter. We, instead of designing prototype, we told to the NGO, we are not designing a prototype. Let us design infinite prototypes. So generate kind of a pixel that are like pixels for different uses, for the kitchen, for the bathroom, for the habitat, for the room, and for the let's say the living room somehow, that we are calling the free module, which is more related to let's say the porch and the open spaces. They accepted, and we were developing this strategy on which families could increase their houses. They could build living spaces. So while the tourists are not there, they could use those spaces, and when the tourists arrive, they can shape their livelihood to receive tourists. Of course, depending on the demand of tourism, if they are bird watchers, if they are backpackers, if they are families or individuals, they could generate different alternatives. So we developed this strategy that we printed in this little book. Actually, I will share 2, 3, like 4 or 5 books that I have worked on. If someone is interested, I will be very happy to share with you the PDFs. So we developed this book. We got into, as you see, into the constructive detail and the budget of these modules. And we brought some examples of how, as you see on the top left, these modules could be added, could be projected by families to generate different alternatives of let's say hostels, hotels, and also houses. Also, like for closing this chapter of progressive development, I am bringing probably the biggest facilities that I have worked on. On your right, you see the main laboratories building of the Colombian engineering school that we have developed with AGRA. AGRA is our studio. As you see, it is a very like complex building full of pipes and networks and so on. But it is designed, the structure and the functionality. You see the staircases and the corridors in such a way that could be very easily dismantled and reassembled. So actually, the building is very new. It is a building that have 8 years, and they have already changed many laboratories. It has 32 laboratories, and these laboratories could change very easily. Network system, and as I said, the corridors and the circulations. You see this little opening here, this staircase and this void. It is designed in such a way that other new buildings can connect, and it already happened. The structures building that was not inside this building was already developed also by AGRA, and it got connected to it. It got connected very easily through this system. So when I talk about progressive development, I am talking about the capacity of architecture of understanding humbly that we will not be there forever, and our contemporary functions will be different in the future. We all know that hospitals are refurbished to other buildings. For example, the building on the left, it is what we call the creative district of Bogotá. We were working on this preliminary project that it is now redesigned by a consultant of a very old faculty of medicine, the first faculty of medicine in Colombia, which is this old building that you see here on the left. And then we brought this new building that is called the Creative, with a very simple structure that is trying to recreate this idea of a market. And what the function of this building is somehow a market and also a cultural center for young creators to do their projects and to do their let's say their orange economy initiatives. The building is designed in such a way that it could change maybe this in 50 years will become a hospital again. So we are designing the networks, the structure in such a way that could, also the enclosures that could change in the future. Let's go to this other characteristic, which is the specific creation. I think part of the still international or the modernism dogmas brought, in my humble opinion, negatively, is trying to homogenize the world, no? To bring a unité d'habitation in Chandigarh, in Brasilia, in Bogotá, and in Nigeria, without caring about the concrete climate, the concrete culture, the concrete topography, and this generates, of course, beautiful, useful, functional, some pieces of architecture, but also, as we know, tremendously negative conditions. So I think we have to get back to understand in a humble way the environment and the context on which we are working. The project that I brought to illustrate that, it is apparently not directly related to that, but actually it is probably the project on which I have worked that relates in the most let's say humble way to the context. This is Bogotá, no? As you see, we have similarities with India. I love this city. It is an 8 million people city, chaotic, crazy, beautiful at the same time, very hard to live with. Differently from Indian cities such as Ahmedabad, it is a pretty violent city. It is a hard place to live, but at the same time is full of culture, full of identity, full of beautiful people and beautiful things happening. This project is called the Transmicable that consists in 26 infrastructures and public spaces along this cable funicular infrastructure in Ciudad Bolívar, which is one of the 10 biggest slums in the world. Of course, as every slum is full of culture, full of identity, full of strong community, let's say, texture, full of like strong community relations. And there was this project that was designed, and we arrived and we realized that these small public spaces were living, were lefting over. And we said, okay, we have to develop something there. They were 200, 400, 700 square meter spaces. Some of them were bigger, 3,000 square meter spaces. And we started to design with the tools of architecture this infographic. It is not more complex than that. It is a map that shows all the infrastructures that we wanted to develop. At the beginning there were 7, and the project started to get successful. And I was working in the Secretary of Planning of Bogotá, the office of the Planning of Bogotá, and all the secretaries, all the institutions of the city, the institution of sports, the Secretary of Culture, the Secretary of Social Integration, all the institutions of the city started to know about the project, and they came to me, that was somehow the manager of this project, to tell us, let me bring my infrastructures to the project. So we were starting to complexifying this until the point on which we said, okay, let's stop here because this is becoming too big. But I wanted just to tell you that the infrastructures, the investment on the infrastructure, which is a more or less, let me explain, it is more or less a $70 million intervention. It is bigger than the intervention of the cable car. So we spent more money and more time and more energy developing the social infrastructures than the cable car itself. The cable car was an excuse, of course, a solution for mobility, but it was an excuse to increase social integration in the neighborhood. I was recently there after 2 years, and what is happening along the cable car is beautiful. Riot here last March, on which there were dead people all over the city. They destroyed public buildings. They destroyed the Transmilenio, which is the public transportation system, and the cable car was perfect. They didn't even did a graffiti in the cable. So there is a very strong social cohesion related to this transportation infrastructure. We did also this book, which is a guidelines book, like telling we were not designing every infrastructure. We are just providing to the institutions guidelines to develop these infrastructures with some values. For example, the ground floor should be open to the street. Simple, no? The terrace, so the rooftop of every infrastructure should be a facade, so it could be seen from above and it could be utilized by the communities. We were doing cultural centers, we were doing houses for old people, we were doing 6 or 7 parks, plazas. We did a service center for these communities where they can go to get their subsidies, where they can go to pay their taxes. We did a security center. We did cycle paths. I mean, it was as you said, as you have seen before, a complex building along this Ciudad Bolivar space. Probably this is the only project that we developed until almost the project, which is a big plaza here, a connection, an urban connection, and then there is another big park here. This is a mosaic of what is happening right now. The buildings are, some of the buildings are already built. These 3 buildings, these are some of them. There is the Museum of the Informal City that is already, it is about to be inaugurated. This is a render because this is a little bit old. I don't have recent pictures. These 3 cultural centers are already also built. There are these 6 or 7 parks. This is already, as I said before, I was there. It is vibrant, full of people doing hip hop, rap, graffiti. There are these houses for placing vendors. So there is this kind of a small market, house for old people, and this is already working. And the most important element is this social cohesion along the Cape. I was also working when I was in the Secretary of Planning. Let me change the theme. To bring this strategy to the metro line of Bogotá. We will have the first metro line of Bogotá, and we are bringing this strategy on a much bigger scale to the first metro line of Bogotá. And we were starting the spaces around the stations. We are talking about millions of square meters, and we're trying to generate these specific projects to each one of the stations, trying to generate social cohesion along this first metro line of Bogotá that is starting to be built and will start working in 6 or 7 years. But the city is starting to get prepared with urban norm and with social infrastructure, the construction of social infrastructures along this line to make social cohesion and the urban realm stronger along this line. Remember, we are talking here about specific creation. These are other projects that I have worked on. I just wanted to show you how, in a very different category of our work, we are getting related to the patrimony. No, on your right, you see a house in a very beautiful village in Colombia that is called Villa de Leyva. It is a colonial building with these ceramic tiles and white walls. And so we are trying to, of course, with a contemporary language, to recreate the look and feel of these colonial buildings, colonial Spanish buildings, also to recreate the courtyard houses of these traditionally developed colonial houses. This is a particular family house. In the center, you see the extension of the City Council of Bogotá. These have been changed a little bit by the consultant that is developing the constructive projects. But as you see, we were also trying to recreate this courtyard architecture, this colonial architecture that is very, let's say, introverted. So with closed facades to the exterior and very open in the middle. So we are having this very high-tech center, and we are having this white, small windowed external facade with very specific openings. And then on the left, probably this is curiously, it is probably the most successful of AGRA's project. We got prizes with this, and it is working very good. It is a small courtyard of a Republican house also in Bogotá, and we were asked to generate a Google space, so a space for work. And we did this glass house that works also as a thermal machine to heat up the internal spaces of the house that was very cold, as all the Republican houses of this neighborhood of Bogotá. And the people in this office is very happy with it. We did this kind of trees that are receiving the water, conducting it to one single pipe. And we did this Google space on they are hanging hammocks, and they are working with laptops here, and they are very happy with it. So reacting specifically to these patrimonial buildings. No? Let's get to this, probably the most important element of vernacular architecture, which is probably the hardest thing to do as architects, because we are always trying to do beautiful things, inevitably trying to leave our signature, our shape. And I think this is something that more and more as architects we have to detach, no, about this idea of let's say logocentristic thought of this is me, I am here, I am the architect that want to be eternal, and try to detach from that and to react in a sensible, humble way to the situation, to the problematic. With this, I want to show you, and this makes me very happy. I'm very happy to share this project here with you, Indian public. This is my first project ever in Verandanga in Tamil Nadu. I was there working as a practitioner in 2008, 2009. I went there very ingeniously to work. I haven't, of course, been in India before, and I went there to develop originally the headquarters of a foundation. There was this crisis. We didn't got any money, so we were starting to produce bricks. I share this picture with you because I learned that much. This and probably this for you is somehow normal, but for me, and I think this is something that we have to teach to the world, is this. Even the most common, banal project or sencillo project, simple in the positive way, project is sacred. There is a meaning, no? And this is something that I learned there. And there is this, actually today I am ending. This is a parenthesis. Sorry, I am ending the refurbishment of an apartment for me and my family. And we are having the cierre house, so the enclosure of the roof. And we are having a party with the masons and the people, which somehow is also a ritual, less sacred. It is more drinking beer and eating meat, unfortunately. But what I have learned here is that we are having. I mean, architecture is much more than just building spaces. No, I was there in Verandanga, very rural context, and we were asked by the children to develop their tuition center. I was working with a foundation, and in a very fast way, just trying to be practical. I was young, I didn't know how to do a foundation properly, and so I did what I could. No, we had 2,000 euros. and we did this 10 per 5 meters space that was just trying to be as efficient, let's say, as coherent as possible with the context and with the conditions of land, money, time. We had 1 month, and the need of these children to have a tuition center for going after school. So these plans were developed. These were the only plans that were used. The rest was spontaneous. But in any case, I must say that I drew the plans, as you see on the left, the plans of every row of the bricks. So I, as an architect, I had cleared the situation somehow. Everything, the masons were taking decisions. I was also taking decisions on the way, but there was a project. No? There were also these facades that were drawn before. On the top part, you see the development of the construction. And then this tuition center was built very fast, still working. We did it with these compressed earth stabilized blocks, which is it is a construction material that was invented in Colombia. The Simba RAM, which is the machine to compress the blocks, that is produced, in this case, was produced in Auroville Earth Institute, was invented by the Simba, which is the center of the Investigación de Vivienda, the housing research center of the National University of Bogotá, that was spread all over the world, including India. Now we don't use it that much here in Colombia, except from some cases. And it is a south-south interchange that is that happened as this conversation is happening right now. We developed this space, very simple space, that was just made to solve its function of hosting these children. It is there. It is appropriated by the community in a very strong way. They go to dance there. They brought 2 computers so children can go and do their homework after school. And what is very important, I left the drawings, the plans in A4, so letter, and I provided to everyone, to the people of the foundation, to the masons, and they are recreating this. They got finance from the Tamil Foundation of the United States, and they were building some of these infrastructures in other spaces around Verandanga and in some other areas in Tamil Nadu. I drew this sketch when I was leaving. Probably I won't be able to go now because the time will be short, but it is a drawing that I always brought to my lectures and to my conversations, because I really love it. It's how the capacity of architecture of just be part of this line and that's it. No? Like continuing with this egoless construction, these are some other projects that are just trying in the humblest way as possible just to react to the context. On the left, we were asked to do these dry toilets in this lost city that is 3 hours away walking from the city of Santa Marta in the Caribbean coast of Colombia. We went there for 6 days with students, and we very fast we built this shelter that is there for as a toilet and also for hosting tourists when it is raining. They arrive to the lost city and they have this shelter here. Of course, it is designed so it could be very easily dismantled and to respect this tremendously beautiful context of the Tayrona terraces of the lost city. Also with this holiday house that it is just trying to be part of the landscape as you see. This is the development of this house. That was the selected project for the poster. The idea of the house was to avoid the beams in this sense, so the view could be the house could open to the view. And as you see, I got inspired by the Tanah Toraja houses of Indonesia. So for the students of the new vernacular architecture studio that are here, this is why we can learn from vernacular in a very specific way. No, this open like the openness of the bringing out the roof of the construction allowed me to not do this enclosure. I had to close here to avoid the rain to get in. Now the rain, in this other side, the rain is not coming in, so I can open this facade, this roof, this slope of the roof to the view, and it also generates this space that it works somehow as a porch. The client is very happy. It is as you see, it is not a social housing project, of course. It is a holiday house, but is I would say a humble house. It doesn't pretend to be luxurious. It is just pretended someone that wants to get retired there and to sell her house in Bogota and to come here to live and to have a simple life here in the warm lands close to Bogota. This is another housing project. We are here in a place that was tremendously affected by a flooding period in 2011 in Colombia. They had a very hard time. I will accelerate a little bit because there is a lot of information. And we react to this very delicate context, as you see here, with a strategy of developing. So we established 9 types of spaces: small, medium, big, open, service, and closed. So you see, for example, a small open space, a big closed space, and then we established a network of alternatives that could be implemented by the communities according to their needs. So, and then we, with the budget of the UNDP, we developed one prototype, which is this house, that was using the big module. So the big module closed means night space with this sink roof to collect water, and a sink roof that get colder in the night fast. And then we did this, let's say this day space, which have the toilets and the kitchen with palm, like bitter palm roof. Again, this prototype was implemented by the people in other areas around spontaneously, without the intervention of the UNDP, without our intervention. People learn from this prototype, and with the strategy, a lot of participation and community involvement, and people learn the idea of this project, of this network, and then they were implementing it spontaneously. Another positive, another element of vernacular architecture is this, the transmission of wisdom. We really believe on the power of architecture to transmit knowledge. So we understand that every project should be, let's say, an example of what could be done. No? To illustrate this, I just wanted to tell you, these are pictures of my beloved Bogota. As you see, we know how to use brick. You are all welcome. I hope you come one day to Bogota. As I said, we have many things to share. And then there was this architectural competition to develop the music faculty of Los Andes University of Bogotá. We won this competition. This is starting to be designed as the definite design, and it will be built in, I hope, 2 or 3 years. Again, it's the music faculty with a very hard program. We developed 5 concepts. No, the first concept is the ensemble. The project was called Ensemble, so ensemble, because it was the music faculty to the music production and a very contemporary way of seeing music. And we produced these 5 ensembles, the one that is related to the relief, so the topography of the mountains of Bogotá, the ecological ensemble that is related to the joints between the city and the mountains and the forest of the mountains, that it is melting just here. I mean, we are just in the interface of that. The ensemble, the programmatic ensemble, number 2. So it was a very complex program. The ensemble connector, the connections ensemble, that was referred to the function of the building of connecting the whole campus. And the ensemble de scenarios, the scenario ensemble, that was understanding the building. Again, we are talking about the transmission of knowledge, the building as a classroom. All the spaces of the building, the roofs, the corridors, everything was designed to receive the music. It was the music faculty, so we imagine this building as a music machine. So music was happening, and the people passing by was always hearing music and learning about music. This was the idea of the project. Also, the laboratories building of the engineering school had this concept. I will be fast here. This was the campus. Again, this was a manicommium. It was a space for crazy people 100 years ago. Now it's an architecture, arts, and music faculty of Los Andes University, similar. And we developed this project that is called Ensemble. Half of the program was under the earth because it was very dense, and the rest was up there. As you see, we try to create the topography. We try to use the brick, which is this very powerful material of Bogotá, put it by hand, one by one, by masons. So we provide work to people. I just want to show you how the building have 3 ground floors. The third ground floor is the one that connected the building to the city, as you see here in this image. The second ground floor is the one that connected the building to the campus. So we tried again to make a mix between these very modernistic, rational, formal structures to this very organic structure of the compound that was already existing. Let's say a more organic building. And then the connection, the main connection. So there was a big axe, as you see here, that was connecting, within the whole campus. This is the building. As you see, we are trying to disappear from the plan. We don't want to say here we are. We just wanted to. Of course, there was an intention of a plastical intention, but we just wanted to be part of the campus. This is the auditorium that was designed in such a way that could change accordingly to the conditions of every need. So more typical presentations and other spaces for performances, more contemporary projects, artistic projects. I mean, this is what I said. This is what is happening. We want the building to be a teaching machine. Then you see this guy playing sitar in one of the corners of the building. The staircase was on the facade, so we wanted the people to use the building to see the landscape and to use the building as part of their everyday life. No, this is another project. These are academic. This is a project that was developed by the studio, not in the academy. It is a book that is called Vernacular Techniques. It is an instruction book on which we are recreating the constructive techniques of Northern Colombia. So the people, masons, apprentices, technical architects, engineers, could use them, vernacular techniques, as their tools to work. So we did this book. It has 65 different constructive techniques. How to do a palm roof in 5 or 6 different ways, how to do a plastered earth wall, and so on. also how to do a good concrete foundation. And we try to recreate these elements also to preserve them, no? to leave them as a way. I mean, these techniques as languages, in Colombia we have less than India, but we have 60 or 7 languages, and they are every year, these languages are disappearing. And we try to do the same with the constructive techniques that are in the hand. For example, this this technique is called by the guy that know how to do it. It is called nudo de corbata, so tie knot. It is known by one guy, one person knows how to do that. So we try to leave it, to register it in this book, so it is also a way to preserve it. These are also like the sharing of knowledge. This is our most recent collaboration with Disney. This is the next Disney movie that will happen in Colombia. We were advising Disney about traditional Colombian architecture, and I think this is tremendously important. We are doing, probably this is more important than every vernacular architecture book, because we are teaching children the beauty of our villages, of our houses. The movie is very architectural because the house, as you see in the poster, the house is one of the characters, one of the main characters of the movie. And of course, we are trying to recreate, of course, in a cartoon way, the values of Colombian traditional architecture. This is also another book that we did for the policy of rural housing at the capital district of Bogotá. The self-construction, so the participation of the people, the user, the client, somehow, on the process of developing architecture. So this is a book that we developed. It is called Habitat for Peace. This is Colombia. It breaks my voice because we are probably in one of the most violent countries in the world. Many people have died here. And there is these guys, guerrilla, the bad guys, no, the guys that were the bad guys, the guys that were kidnapping, killing people, that disarmed and decided to go to peace. They will concentrated in this. They are not concentration camps. They are called zonas verales, so panchayat zones somehow. They are like places in the middle of nowhere in the forest of Colombia. They did these very fast, like military settlements where these people arrived from the forest. They gave their guns to the UN, and now they are there. We have like 5,000 people living in these settlements. The government forgot about them because the government changed for a more, another government that was not agreeing with the peace process, and so they leave them there. And us with the Javeriana University, we were there, and we were developing with the community in a very, very strong community-oriented process. We were talking a lot with the community. In my point of view, a little bit too much, but this is always convenient. There is this discussion about designing with people that we are having, for example, with Harshila, about until when should we design with people, and until when should we as technocrats take decisions. So here we are having a very beautiful process of co-designing. We were designing these strategies. It's a strategy, it is not a development, that was completely appropriated by the community. And they are now implementing this. They are starting. They have a land. They bought another land. They are starting to get the funding, and they are co-designing to start with this development. They already said, if the government is not building the project, we are building it by ourselves. We are spontaneous slums, let's say, but with the strategy that you are providing us. These were the meetings with the people. These were the bad guys. These were the Taliban for us. When I was a child, these were the bad guys with guns. If you want, you can Google guerrilla, like guerrilla war in Colombia. You will find what happened here, it is terrible. The worst things that you can imagine about war. And these were one of the groups. No, these guys were one of the groups. These two guys in the back were and still are the bad guys, the real bad guys. But then when you start to talk with these people, you realize that they are Colombian, as me, no? Humble Colombian people without opportunities, that didn't have any choice of going there, get a gun, and start working in the forests of Colombia. And now they just want to have a normal life, to be part of the society, to have a house, to have a community, and they are very cohesion. They have Marxist principles. They are very organized. And with them, we are learning so much about their way of thinking, their way of organizing, and so on. Very fast, I will pass very fast the characteristics of this book. It is divided in 4 chapters. The context, so a main context about the history of the guerrilla, the territory, the war, the drug traffic, and so on. Then there is another chapter that is the big urban scale, the 1 to 2000, more or less, like how they are working in the land, with the territory, with the forest, with the agricultural lands, the main infrastructures, and so on. This, which is very important, which is the block, the community, and the house, and the technique. We get into the constructive technique. Of course, we understood the context. We look at these porches. We try to recreate these porches, which are very important in the Guaviare, who's that region. We did maps, blah. Then we have this chapter that is related to the land. The main facilities, the main infrastructure, social and also service infrastructures. I will accelerate. So the block scale, the manzana, these communal spaces, this public porch, the houses that were developed in a progressive development, everything is kind of designed as an encroachment. No, this beautiful concept that you in India have about the encroachment that sometimes is seen as negative, but is tremendously beautiful. So we try to use here the encroachment as a possibility. No, so the block that could be extended and additioned according to the needs. Community small infrastructures that probably could be developed by the community itself. The only building that they have already done is one of these like shelters for hosting tourists. The house that was divided in 7 modules, 9, 2 open, 7 built, and in the first phase, just 5 modules were closed. No, we were doing the roof of these 5 modules and the walls of these 5 modules, and we were showing many alternatives for these modules to be developed. It is a very thick book full of information, but it just wanted to show you how this could be. I mean, we're talking, of course, about how the rest of this infrastructure could be filled by the community. We even show them how they could continue to the backyard. We told them, we asked them to build big pieces of land, but not suburban housing. We wanted them to, or we encouraged them to still live in rural communities, in more. We didn't want them to have farms. We want them to have, or we encouraged them, and also they wanted, of course, to have a village. No. This again, we are talking here about student projects. The one on the left, it was a summer course that we developed in RISD with Professor Daniel Feldman, a colleague of mine, that invited me to teach there for one summer course. We were doing with students this nice plaza and this facility on what was a parking plot in the middle of road, in the middle of Central Falls, as peripheral development in the periphery of Providence, of the city of Providence in the United States. It was beautiful what happened there. I am here on top of the roof. The inauguration day, we were still with students finishing the construction. That's still there and still working. People is doing festivals, they are doing barbecues, they are doing Zumba classes in this courtyard. On the right, it is a very similar project in the north of Colombia. It is also a community space, a plaza with this pavilion that is used by the community for different things. They do dancing activities, they do drum activities, they do marriages, they do different parties. It became the main community center of the Palomino village in northern Colombia. Just to finish, I want to show you this project. It is an interesting story. This is the Maloca, one of the most beautiful vernacular typologies for me, which is a communal house, or that it is very common in the Amazon region of the world, in Colombia, Brazil, Peru, Ecuador. It is a big house where the community, I won't say the tribe, because there are many families living there. They share together the house, so it is a communal house. It is a communal house that works also as a temple. So the house is the temple. They are big, they are tremendously sophisticated in terms of constructive solutions. And with this idea of the Maloca, we made a proposal for the Colombian pavilion at the Expo, the Milan Expo. It was a huge project of a big Maloca. Of course, we didn't got the first prize. We got the second prize. It was a little bit too complicated. We did the constructive details. It was made out of bamboo. These were compressed earth blocks, such as of the tuition center of Verandangal. We got the second prize, so we said, okay, we have to still developing this project. So we did this project. This is also in La Mojana region in Colombia, that is trying to recreate this Maloca. I had a professor in the university here that says that project don't finish, project change. You never finish a project. You just abandon it, abandon a building, and then you continue with the project in your head, and it should be like that. So with this idea of the Maloca and the project, and this organic creation of a community shared space, did this project that is called the Morrocoy, the turtle. The community brought this name to the project. I love this drawing. It is the constructive drawing for the roof. This plan didn't want it to be plastic, aesthetical, beautiful. It just wanted it was a plan just to understand how this should be built, no? Because we were building with vernacular techniques, with vernacular wisdoms, vernacular materials also, but we twist a little bit this shape as architects. So we did this with the community, with very skilled carpenters and masons, and we did this Maloca as a continuation of this idea of the shared space for the community. It has a big basement because this must also have this space must apart from a community center. It is a shelter center in the case of another flood, because this was a very floodable. It is a very floodable area in northern Colombia. This is the space. It is used again. It is used by the community for parties, for celebrations. They do technical teaching. They teach people how to work on mechanics, on informatics, on building. They use also this building as a way of showing people that these techniques of wood, palm are also available and convenient. We recreate again for a third time this idea of the Maloca on a competition. We didn't got any prize. We didn't even got mentioned. It is part of the exercise as an architect. With this big park in eastern Colombia. With this, I am closing with these values of vernacular. I just want to share this beautiful phrase from the grandfather of my grandmother that was writing this in a travel around Colombia. I will allow myself to read just before finishing this beautiful phrase that, remember, we are in 1853, post-industrial, post-colonial period in Colombia. And then this illustrated guy wrote, wheat, corn, potatoes, a few cows and sheep, and the abundant fish from the lagoon provide those. He was talking about some peoples in the lagoon of Fuquene, close to Colombia, that peasants in the lagoon of Fuquene close to Bogotá, provide those settlers with a secure subsistence and leftovers that can be easily exchanged in neighborhood markets, to which they go out in bundles of reed, forming a whole, bizarre, similar to a great tortoise. So we are talking about vernacular boats, no? Don't exist anymore. The technique exists, but the boats doesn't exist. This is a research that I have to do. 300 years of conquest and 40 years of industrial freedom have passed through there without leaving trace, except from innovations in domestic life that have little altered the way these primitive lords of the soil exist. Politicians may regret this state of affairs, but philosopher applauds them and almost embodies them in the depth of his heart. We have to learn from vernacular. We have to go back, not just as architects, but also as a society. We have to learn from vernacular, and we have to go back to the values of localness as architects, and also as social people from the contemporary world. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. That was absolutely fascinating. And to me, I mean, the kind of range of activities that you are involved in, and thank you for sharing all of this work that you are doing. Also this, very sort of apparent passion you have for the vernacular and that way of approaching the things that we do. Yeah, thank you. We can sort of take questions. I don't even know where to start because it was such a, large body of work. Yeah.
I was no, and Jali, thank you very much. Again, I must say, here with this group, I see that there is Aryan, Reya, and Abhishek, part of our students. I must say that I am enjoying very much of being part of CEPT virtually. This has been a very, very fruitful period of my professional life, and I'm very happy to share this conversation with you. Of course, I will be completely available to share it in other spaces as you need.
Yeah.
Hello, Abhishek.
I have one small question, which is a very silly question. But you showed us those the cable cars, and then you sort of showed the connection between various different sort of public squares and community spaces. How does one come down from they're sort of like metro stations at which the cable cars dock, and then you can come down to these squares, or?
Yes, there is. There are 4 stations along the system. Which have the bigger infrastructures, which have more in Colombia. In Bogotá, we have 4 scales for urbanism, official scales: metropolitan, urban, zonal, neighborhood scale, and it have a lot of legal conditions. The facilities that were built in the stations were metropolitan and urban. The other ones were zonal. So they were not for the people of the city. They were for the people of the neighborhood. Okay, we are talking about buildings that have 800 square meters, very small buildings, 1,000, 1,500 square meters. Then the other ones on the lower station, there is a huge sports and cultural center that was I don't know, a $30 million huge building. That was an architecture competition, very fancy, very beautiful, very big too, and that is provided. It is providing services for the whole neighborhood. We are talking here about more or less 700,000 people. No? So you go down on the station, and then if you want to, you can walk to the plazas. And now, one of the beautiful things that are happening is that they are starting to generate the community circuits for tourists. So we are talking here of, again, as the guerrilla were the bad guys, this neighborhood was the slum that you don't want to go there. No? Many people from the north of Bogotá, where the rich people live, haven't ever been there. They will never go there. They didn't even think about going there. No?
Yeah.
And now it is becoming part of the tourist circuit of Bogotá. Time when I go there to work, I see people, tourists from Bogotá, from northern Bogotá, but also from the neighborhood behind. I mean, the neighborhood on the lowland, no? That have never go up to the hill. Now they take the cable, they go up, they see the city. There is a wonderful view of Bogotá from the top part, from the terrace that I showed you. So they go up there and they eat an empanada, which is this pastry. They eat a sancocho, which is a traditional soup. And they walk a little bit around, they play, they sell something, and then they go back. No? So there are these things that are starting to happen in an organic way. No?
Between these sort of nodes, apart from the sort of main ones, which are city scale, and then you go all the way down to the neighborhood scale.
Yes. And then they tell the stories. For example, there is a plaza that is called La Plaza del Sapo. The frog, Sapo is frog, the frog square. But Sapo is also the one that was in guerrilla groups, the one that was whispering where they were, and I mean the traitor. And they were killing that guy, and they were throwing the sapos in that square. They were. It is an historic scene. We are talking 30 years ago. No, it is a very recent history. They were killing people and throwing them on the square. Then they did a sculpture of a frog, and now the plaza is called the Plaza del Sapo still, of course. No. And there is a sculpture remembering the terror, and then there is and the people is, I mean, part of this touristic circuit is telling that story, no, and remembering, no. So sorry, all this construction, as we are a young country, very messy country, I mean, with full of conflict. And I think these small stories must be told, because our story is not just the story of the independence. You know, we have also to tell the story of people that is funding these neighborhoods, that is building community, that is,
Interesting.
Would probably commence with the questions I've received on chat.
Okay.
So we have one question from Harshil, which is, after all these explorations on different scales and after these years of experience, is there an opinion that you would form regarding the new vernacular practice, and which is the best vernacular practice and which scale is that?
Which is the best scale of practicing?
Yes.
I think all scales, all programs, all territories, all techniques. It's just, I mean, vernacular architecture at the end is archetypical architecture, is architecture, no? And we can, of course, now we cannot, I won't generate a Tayrona hut from the forest of Colombia in the slum of Ciudad Bolívar, because it is not vernacular anymore, no? Not even a traditional indigenous hut from the savannah of Bogotá, from the region of Bogotá in Bogotá, because now Bogotá is something different. Vernacularity, localness, specificity is different, no? We can use the values of vernacular, and this is what we are trying to do in our studio, no? Is understanding the abstraction of those values, also in the practical scale, no? How I don't know, for example, here there is Abhishek that was learning from the traditional dwellings in sub-Saharan Africa, how clusters work. And he's recreating those values on a market in Pondicherry, no? And it is completely like abstract, no? But we are learning something, no? We are learning values, and we are trying to recreate them because it is heterogeneous. Modernity brought us to 5 solutions, no? 5 materials and 5 solutions, no? And of course that could be very rich, but there is much more, no? And the contemporary architects are, I mean, you see what Votromnia, that was here before, was doing, what Peter Zumthor is doing, what the Wang Shu is doing, with Mr. Doshi is doing, no? Also Rogelio Salmona here in Colombia, I mean, all over. I mean, contemporary architects, Kengo Kuma, even Glenn Murcutt, that is super high tech, is recreating the values of vernacular, no? So I think contemporary architecture is starting to look at that in a sensible way, and we are starting as disciplinary architects to understand and use the values of localness, of vernacularity, of organic architecture. Yeah, I don't know if I am answering your question, but yeah, I mean, we have been talking about this with Herschel during this semester so deeply. Yeah. Who's there?
No, I was just saying, I see the photograph of an old friend, Terukazu Ni, from Japan. He's going to speak to us in November, right? Yeah. They work a lot with sort of sustainable forms of architecture and so on in Japan.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Ni.
Yeah. Hello. Just
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Yes, I follow what you're saying. I think it is very important. This kind of attitude today. Yes, especially that. Yes, simple modernism is we have to be very careful about it, and the very important things that we also believe the regionality. So what we can do in the region, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Abhishek.
I have something very direct to ask. Like, what was the kind of foundation or the community that you had in Vedantangam for that school or the tuition center project?
The foundation, the technical foundation, you mean the structural foundation?
No. You said you were.
It is called Laya Foundation. I was very lucky because you know how these foundations here in Colombia and in India work. Sometimes it is more a fashion that really changing, no? And I was very lucky because it was a very small foundation. It is called Laya, L-A-I-A, that has mutated a long time, a lot. It still exists.
Mm-hmm.
It was very small. We were, there were, the director was a Spanish guy from Barcelona. There were 3 people from staff, and we were 2 more people. I was very young at that time. And and so we were useful. They bought this machine, the compressor block machine. So we settled a workshop for production of blocks that is not working anymore. That workshop is not working anymore. And we were like working with people to teach them how to do the blocks properly and so on. It was very interesting. Then we were doing the walls of many tuition centers because there was just the roof. The water was entering. So, and then children were spreading. So somehow we had to generate the walls so we keep the children all together. And we were doing the walls. We did 2 water tanks. And then when I was there for a period, when I was 1.5 months away from leaving, it happened that these children came to us for the building of a new tuition. So this is why we did this tuition that still there. I went to visit it when I was at CEPT in 2010 again.
Okay.
And it's still working. Now it is very community-based function.
So there is a that has been made of the center. Is that so?
What? Sorry?
So there is a lot of replicas of it now made around. Is that so?
Yeah, some. They have done, since I knew, they have done 3 or 4 more. But I think it became a model, no? Which is good and bad, no? Because it is very simple. So they change it. For example, they plaster it and then they painted with colors. There were these jailings, which I was very proud of because these jailings were allowing natural ventilation. But then a snake, a cobra, entered once to one of the tuitions. So they decided to change in new models. They decided to change the jails by windows, normal windows that could be closed. So they changed up the model a lot, which is good. It's good. It's part of they did it in normal brick instead of compressor blocks, which is good. They were, I mean, all the models had this coconut palm roof and the rice straw roof, which is very good because this allows the natural isolation to work a little bit better instead of this Eternit roof, which is terrible. No? This cement roof, which are terrible, and they produce cancer and so on.
Okay, right. Yeah, I'll try to visit this during this winter break, and we'll let you know.
Like, oh, yeah, Abhishek, if you go there and send me pictures, I will.
I'll do that definitely.
Yeah, go to Verandangal. It is beautiful. There is this bird sanctuary.
Exactly. I'm there, so I'll do that this break in the December.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It is called Metutero Tuition. If you go there, let me know and I will guide you.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
So after 2016 or whatever, now for however it is in 2021.
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Okay, with that question, we'll probably conclude this session. Anjali, is that okay? Martin, is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. I said I think we should let Martin go home.
Yes.
Because you've really given us
I will take a breakfast.
Huge presentation. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Lots of things to think about. I really was impressed with those, the way you sort of codified the principles and yeah. What was the thing about ego?
Egoless.
Egoless construction. Yes. Or contribution. Egoless contribution, was it?
Yes. Egoless production.
Production. Yeah. No, it was very interesting. And I think the other point is, when we say vernacular, and then you have, people have preconceived images of what this might be, and yet it's actually a set of values which can be interpreted, reinterpreted, and find different forms. So thank you.
Yes, and
very comprehensive. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. Again, I think we will be having beautiful examples of this with the projects of the student that are being developed
At the end, yeah.
at the end of this semester.
This semester, yeah. Look forward to that, yeah.